86. So he had, either God gave him miraculous potency, or he was a potent man at 86 years old, which is not unheard of, I suppose. What's the unheard of part of this thing is not Abraham, but Sarah. Okay, that's the one that's a miracle, as we'll see. And so God had said, you're going to have all these sons. So here's one chart of this. I don't know how clear it would be on the big screen. Not too bad. You have Hagar. Abram had Hagar, Sarah, and Keturah as 3 wives. He had a total of 3 wives. After Sarah died, he married a woman named Keturah. And so through Hagar and Ishmael had all the 12 tribes. There they are. I know little about most of them. They are, if you can, the history of the Arab nations and about Arabic history, now Muslim history. These are the origin of Muslims. Ishmael descendants. Not all Muslim descendants of Israel. Okay. But that's where it ends. Print that, yeah. And then you have the Israelite that is of Jacob. Through those, then, all the tribes of the Jews and then Christ. And then Isaac, Sarah has Isaac through Rebekah, and Jacob is all born. So you have Jacob, Israelites, and the Edomite. She also lives here. Zilpah, Bilhah, Rachel as the 4 wives of Jacob. And then you have Keturah. And there's a bunch of names that came out of Abraham's other one. So he's the father of multitude, the father of many nations, not just the Jews, Israelite. He's the father of many nations. The Bible said would be. That's what the chart shows. Another way to look at it, a little more compact, you have two who had a son named Haran. Haran had a boy named Lot. From Lot, after all of Sodom and Gomorrah will come to, he had 2 sons, Ammon and Moab, became nations. Those are ancestors of the Jordanian and Palestinian peoples, the descendants of Lot and Moab, somewhat. Nothing is exact, but somewhat. And I'm not going to make a political statement when I say that. I'm going to point out that general drift of the genealogy. Abram had a son, Terah had a son named Abraham, who had Ishmael and Isaac, and we saw Terah. And so you have the Arabs, Osh, those 2. And they have through Isaac and Rebekah, who is all to Abraham, through Nahor, you have Jacob and the 12 tribes of Israel. So I'll try to print those out if somebody would like them. I'll send them out if you want some copies there. And I make those charts. So therefore, huh? Oh, I think it'd be. That's why I tried to pull it. So therefore, unfortunately, I can't set it, but I also keep the blame. All right. That's a good. Except putting it up here wrong. You can always get blamed. All right. So at 80 years old, then it says, and this is 17:1, flip to a chapter now, here up in the background. When Abraham was 99 years old, the Lord appeared to him. How many years is that? 13 years later. When Abram, 99 years old, the Lord appeared to Abram and said to him, I am Almighty God, walk before me and be blameless. And that's a special word, Almighty God. It's a broad title than just God. And it's a little different, the word for Jehovah. That's a name. This is a description of who he is. And, okay, I got a text that I sound a robot. So I'm not sure. We're having some sound lately. Is this? I'm just trying to make sure it's on. We're all looking at each other. Okay. Don't mind, sound like a robot. Anyway, she's talking about digital sound, so we're going to work on it. All right, yeah. Let me look it up to be sure. Well, perfect and the word blessed would be right. What it means is that he has candy. The word for sin here is an English word, but it comes from the Latin sine without cara wax. They would make a pot, as I've told you, pot. So what people would take some wax, fill that in, they painted it. Go to the market, you'd see that it's got a flaw. It's a flaw. So they would hide the hot cracks hidden if a chassis of a car's integrity means there's no weak spot, there's no flaw in there and it cause some problem. This is what it means. It doesn't mean that he never sinned. It means that, and this is what it says about an elder must be blameless. It's the word used. It means this man can be a good man, and the thing that you see is blameless people, they do see you wrong, they do something about it. I don't know if that word used of David, for example. We love it. And we should. I'm not sure that word used of David. David's a much more emotional man. We're all big on emotions. Got that, because David's that emotional man, and in trouble. Emotions get trouble today. Yes. And they also drove toward God, and they drove close to God. Emotions are double-edged things. Had this big going this week with my dog. I kind of knew it might be internally, but my son-in-law do marriage coach stuff. And I was just kind of poking around about the fact, do you distinguish between fact and feelings in all your therapies? Well, because my husband doesn't love me. Well, to a woman, it's a fact. The fact that she feels like her husband does, or she will tell her friend, he doesn't love me. Well, now, when you say he loved me, what evidence for that? He loves you. You say, I feel like he loved me. Don't confuse feelings with facts. This is, everybody does it on some level. I think women are particularly prone to this, and that's got advantages. There's good to that. But do not confuse feelings with facts. They're not the same thing at all. And that is a big problem in marriage. It's a problem in government now, and politics, a lot of things. And so things have a place. If they did, God wouldn't have. Now, what she said is, well, my feelings are right. I said, yeah, I know they're incorrect and needs to be correct. But, no, feelings, a husband or a wife has to put the feelings of their partner. But that doesn't mean it's a fact because you feel like someone's going to attack me today. Okay? Is that a fact? It would be a useful thing. It might perk you, but so it might be a distinct feeling. Keep things where they belong. They'll be good. A good guide you. Is it not showing? I'm back up, have I? I was just trying to show you this. Went off of this to show them. I can't look up the Hebrew word. Keep the. Well, I suppose I'll do it. Keep the presentation. Thank you, Gary, for that. So anyway, walk for me and be blameless. You could even argue saying he is blameless, one should be blameless. I will make a covenant between me and you and multiply exceedingly. He already did make the covenant to agree. He already did make a covenant. But now I'm going to make a different covenant with Abraham. It's not even Abraham yet. That's when he gets to Abraham. He's going to re-intensify the covenant. This covenant isn't the problem of many nations as it is circumcision as a special people. Abram fell on his face. We're in Genesis 17, by the word this is. This is 17:3. Abram fell on his face and talked with him, saying, As for me, behold, my covenant is with you, and be a father of many nations. Well, we just started on that, right? No longer shall your name be called Abram, but your name shall be Abraham. Abram means exalted father. Ab, the A in Hebrew is father, exalted father. Abraham means father of many nations, father of multitude. It's a different, the father part, same syllable, but the rest of the word Abraham is father of many nations or a multitude of people. I've made you a father of many nations. I will make you exceedingly fruitful. I will make nations of you. Kings shall come to you. And 99 years old now when he said to him, And I will establish my covenant between me and you and descendants after you and generations for an everlasting covenant, be God to you and descendants after you. The word everlasting, by the way, does not mean what we think of everlasting, meaning till ages and ages and through eternity. That's not how it was used in the times. It usually means to live an age or for all time. That's what we debate that, but use that. That's the way it's used in the Bible. But I'm going to make this. There could be other conditions. There can be, yes, that would break it. But it's not just a temporary covenant. It's a permanent covenant, as it were, but permanence being on the circumstance. And I give to you and yours after you the land that we're a stranger, Palestine that we're taught. All the land of Canaan as an everlasting possession, and I will be your God. And you're everlasting again. Long term, not short, long term. Yeah. Yeah, well, it ends, doesn't it? Right. It's a time limit on it, permanent, everlasting, so forth. Some people, it really does seem everlasting, doesn't it? There's that in feeling. Not to me, but in feeling. I think you're... Now, when God made this covenant with Abraham, it's certain. Now, you're questioning whether Abraham had part to play in this. Yeah. You shall keep covenant, and you and your descendants throughout their generations. Now, he would break this covenant land with Abraham's descendant because not obey. Right. Right. This is my covenant which you will keep. But this is covenant between you and your descendants after you. Every male child you shall be circumcised. And shall be circumcised the flesh and foreskins. It shall be a sign of the covenant between me and you. So this is the covenant. Circumcision is the covenant in this case. So people say, why is? Now, in case you don't know, male penis has foreskin which goes all the way across the tip of the penis. What's cut off is that foreskin is surgically removed so that there is no, it's taken away and thrown away, as it were. And God said every male in your generation must be circumcised. Wasn't a common practice among ancient peoples. Was known, but was common practice. It would really make a distinction between a Jew and one who was circumcised would not offer from his people, be able to be among the Jews, the temple, do anything like it, and consider an outcast. Now, why did God piss? Well, here's we're seeing this day and age. Sexual issues go to the core of humanity. They go right to the core of human being, what it means, and everything else. We want to sex a side issue, act like it's not. It's a side thing. It's the core. God God marked the organs of life of all which men. He marked those organs distinctly as being belonging to him. Specifically, the Jews' duality belonged to God, but what saying is the whole person belonged to God. It's the mark. And so it's just an incidental thing or an odd thing. It's to show you what God thinks is the core part of being. Why did he pick this? Could have tattooed them on their head if you want. That's how other ancient peoples did this. They have tattoos on themselves, bullet holes in their. They mark things, invisible things you could see. That's why it's an interesting sign, because it is invisible. It's a sign. And so that's covenant, to have this flesh cut away. Covenant is you will cut the flesh off to make yourself mine. So in the next, we're going to come to this. We have to cut flesh off to be God's. Not physical flesh, but the flesh, the world, or own desires. So God was controlling, God was putting a mark on the most personal, intimate, and important thing, man, to the people. And that's where it all begins, at the core of their being. This is not a superficial covenant, not a superficial thing that I'm here to God saying to do. And when he brings it over to the covenant, the circumcision, see, it's the same way. So he says, he who is 8 days old among you shall be circumcised. So Jesus was 8 days old, and Joseph go to the temple to have Jesus circumcised. They were in Jerusalem, and they circumcised him at 8 days old. That's a common now. What Jews do it, if they're Orthodox, they circumcise their children 8 days old. They're in it. God didn't do it because it's better for you medically. God did it as a mark that was supposed to go to heart, cover their behavior and their attitude. I don't think he restricted them from eating pork because pork is bad for you. Why don't I like that? Well, why does he allow it now? Doesn't he care about us? Oh, he cared about you, so he couldn't eat pork because pork is bad for you. Well, doesn't he love me? He lets me eat shrimp and else. But don't care about me? The medical covenant, and I say amen. But it's medical things are not the reason. Diet laws are not about diet. They're about the person, about the whole. So each child, male, who was in your house or brought money from a foreign who was not your, he was born in your house, he was in your must be circumcised. My covenant shall be in your flesh for an everlasting covenant. So physical mark. And the uncircumcised male child is not circumcised flesh of his forehead. So Abraham, his servants, at 90 years old, he circumcised himself and circumcised all his servants at 99 years. That not pleasant. Not pleasant. And they'll do this today when they become Jews. And they're not pleasant. Well, that decision is performed on boys who are young boys and men today. There are medical reasons to do circumcision, but not every single person is done today. And it's not pleasant, but it's never. Okay. Anyway, and you were also circumcised. This is what the New Testament says. Listen to this. Be Christians. Is that the fell? In him also circumcised with the circumcision without hands. Here's a circumcision that's not physical. It's a spiritual circumcision that Christians know. By the putting of the body of the flesh, cutting the flesh from you. The way of the flesh of the man was a symbol. It was close to the heart, close center of the person's being, and it was cut away. Here's something center of the person, not the body sends the flesh by the circumcision of Christ. What is this circumcision? Well, buried in baptism, that is, in which you were all raised with him, faith in the working of God who raised him. Every Christian today who is a Christian is circumcised, or they're not a Christian, male, female. But circumcised by baptism, not circumcision made with hand. So a Christian, you've been circumcised by being baptized in Christ. Because in being baptized, what are you doing? Well, you're cutting off the flesh. You're saying, what that means, the flesh, as I've told you over again, does not mean physical body in the New Testament. Well, I can mean that. It's talking about, though, about putting off the flesh. That you should stop desiring food, that you should stop desiring sex. That's not flesh. Flesh is your decision to do. Anybody likes it or not. We all have to do that. And that's what the flesh is. When you are baptized into Christ, you're saying is, I'm putting that away. I'm putting that aside. I'm going to stop doing what I want to do, and I'm going to do what Christ wants me to do. I'm going to put to death self-desire to have my life and do what Christ wants me to do. Now, if you baptize, that's what you've said. And that's the sign, that's a symbol or whatever, that you made that commitment Christ and been buried with baptism and raised up to do what? Raised up to walk life, Romans said. A different life. Now your life based on what God says, not what you wanted. So this is, and it is, that was real. I make a covenant with you. You'll be mine. You're mine. Means you have all the blessings of being God's. So you have this little context. For in Christ Jesus, neither circumcision or uncircumcision is anything. If you want to circumcise your sons, circumcise them. If you don't want to circumcise your sons, don't circumcise. It doesn't matter to God physically what you do. Most Christians down through time have circumcised children because of its connection to covenant with Abraham. There's no requirement. Paul said right here, matters is working through love, doing what God says because you love him. For in Christ is neither circumcision nor uncircumcision. This means counts for anything. Doesn't mean anything. But a new creation. That's what matters. So we don't need to get arguments about they'd have to go to a rabbi to do it a lot of times because most medical today are genital mutilation and they would. So anyway, so when I was born, that was what everybody. Anyway, thank you for listening. Appreciate it very much. Well, his servant